Happy Monday, my degenerates. Welcome back to the Die Hard MMA podcast. I'm your host, as always, your boy Clint, and we're here. We're coming off a good week. We're coming off of a 7-unit best bet winner, baby. That's what's up. Since we started the podcast, nine 7-unit best bets have been played. We have moved to 7-2. I told you guys about my guy, Payton Talbott. Unfortunately, the secret's out. Now everybody's saying he's going to beat Sean O'Malley the next time we get Payton Talbott in the cage. I'm sure he'll be minus 350. So I hope you guys enjoyed the even money while we got it, because we're not going to see it again for a long time. You know, I posted out, I put up a thing on Twitter, and I was like, hypothetically speaking, if they were to book Payton Talbott versus Rob Font, how would you guys line this? And I legitimately had people coming to me like minus 250 for Rob Font. So maybe we can squeeze like one more good Payton Talbott bet out, depending on who they match him up with in the next couple of fights. But I got to tell you guys, I saw some people matchmaking Talbot up with my guy C-Rod. I will shit a brick. Do not do that to me. I hate it when they put my boys against each other, and that's happened way too often lately, okay? I just had to deal with that with Dulgarian and C-Rod. Don't make me choose between Payton Talbot and C-Rod. I don't want to deal with that horseshit. How is everybody doing in the chat? My guy Mushroom MMA, what's going on, baby? Excited for Atlantic City. We got OP second 718. What is that name, my guy? That is hard for me to read, but thank you very much. I'm glad you're excited for the show, and welcome in here. The Grateful Dude, we've got Rosul, we've got Nigel Lee, Grace Span, and we've got everybody rolling in here. What's up, everybody? How we doing this evening? Blood Money, my guy Cody, what's up, man? How you doing? Thank you for joining the chat this evening. All right, you guys, we're finally getting there. The numbers are headed where they need to be. Our people are finding us finally. Do me a favor, keep hitting that like button. This is the home of fight. New home for the podcast. It's not pub rebranded. It's not my channel. It's the new host. They're our new sponsor, but this is where the show is going to be from now on. And we need to let people know, because I'm still getting the DMs. I'm still getting the comments. People confused about where the show went. Let them know. Let them know we're here. The best thing about Home of Fight, though, it's an all MMA channel. We've got awesome shows coming up. You know, guys like Money Moicano, Gilbert Burns is involved, Derek Brunson. There's podcasts, all the content on this channel. You don't have to worry about the other sports that you couldn't give a shit about. It's all MMA here on this channel. So make sure you guys get in here. You're going to want to check out some of the other content as well on this channel. As you know, I know not everybody likes basketball, football, blah, 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 whatever. Okay. We got a lot of fights to get to. All right. And not only am I feeling good, not only are the reads on point, we went 11-2 on fight picks last week. I did give a couple units back on the live bets. I thought, oh my God, I did maybe the worst case scenario in the main event. I bet on Rose Namajunas to win inside the distance, because I thought that's what was going to happen. And then as the fight was going on, she was just letting it be way too close, and Hebos was hanging around, and I was like, shit. So I took some live Hebos bets, so I ended up losing everything when Rose won the decision. We end up plus 3.7 units on the night, won the max bet, won the Link Memorial Dog of the Week. And just for those of you keeping track at home, the Link Memorial Dog of the Week is now 5-5 plus 1.7 units. If you've been tailing just the Dog of the Week for a 1-unit bet every single week. So I'm happy so far, so good. Link is blessing us. He's howling from heaven for us, and hopefully we keep that trend rolling. But as well as I did last week, I know somebody who did better than I did last week. And that brings us to this week's guest. One of your favorites, one of my favorites, you know, the Valley's own, the #1 MMA fighter from Phoenix, Arizona, in our hearts and our minds, and soon to be in the rankings, Brandon Olivas. What's going on, man? How you doing?
What's up, man? How are you?
I'm doing good. You're camping outside for the show today, huh?
Yeah, I figured it's such nice weather here, and it's about to get hot again, so we might as well do an outside pod.
I'm jealous, man. That's a sick setup, and it's beautiful weather right now. Good call.
Hey, it's the house that DraftKings built. You know what I mean? So
You love to see it, man. How'd you? Now I'm asking for posterity's sake, but how'd you do last week?
this has been a good stretch. I'll just give a little brief. So leading last year, I had my fight in November, and it was really tough for me to watch film and train as much as I needed to. I was training 3 times a day, so the time for film, and man, I did horribly. Like the ending to last year, probably the 2 months leading up to my fight, or maybe a month leading up to my fight, and then the end of the year was horrible. So this year, I had 3,000 in my Bet Online account, and I said, all right, this is it for me. This is last shot at this thing. And since that time, I think I'm up 150,000. Last week I did 60,000. This most recent week I did 60,000, and then I had built it up a little bit before then as well. So man, it's been a very great few weeks.
Man, all right. So you guys know, like I said, the whole point of the show is I'm here to make you giggle. I'm here to have some fun and DJing out on my favorite sport in the world. I'm bringing you minds like this guy who's over here cashing 60K in back-to-back weeks. That's what we're working with. So make sure you show our guy Brandon Olivas some love out there. Give him a follow. Him and Santino have one of my favorite podcasts. Man, Brad, I got to tell you, I do not consume content anymore. I started doing my podcast because I was a fan of a bunch of MMA podcasts. And I just went, you know what? I think I could do that. And I needed the therapy of, people who enjoy fights listening to me talk about them. My wife and her family were kind of getting fed up with me always wanting to talk MMA. So it was just kind of therapeutic for me to start my podcast. I just don't have time anymore. Now that I'm doing my own show full time, all the research that goes into it and being a full-time dad on top of that, I just can't listen to shows anymore. But I make sure to listen to you and Santino every single week. I love the perspective. I love the insider, not insider knowledge, but you know what I mean? Like you guys actually being in the industry, training, working with some of these guys, shit that I could never dream of. It's such a good piece. So guys, seriously, make sure you're listening to their show as well, because there's nuggets that you're not going to get anywhere else. Most of us are couch jockeys, maybe trained a little bit. I was a blue belt back in the day. It doesn't apply the way that these guys do. So seriously, make sure you check out Brandon's show every single week. The information is on point, and it's pretty damn funny.
I appreciate that, man. I actually just got back from doing our podcast, and so I changed my shirt for this show. I look nicer, of course, for this show than our own show, because I could give a shit about ours. But yeah, we get great insight. Like, my girl gave Payton Talbott a ride home, and I said, man, I don't know who I'm more jealous of, him or her. Like, attracted to both of them equally. And yeah, there's some great nuggets. I bumped into him in training, and I knew that was going to be a rough fight for Cam.
You know what? Yeah, I knew that was going to be a rough fight for Cam. I got to tell you, man, it's rare that I call a fight just kind of start to finish. I'm not usually that guy that just like kind of nails it, but I've successfully faded Cameron Simon a couple of times, and just the way he matched up with C-Rod, the way he matched up with Talbot, is like, man, the matchmakers know exactly what they're doing in some of these spots. It was kind of obvious to me how that fight was going to go, and very pleased that Talbot got off to the start that he did. I can't wait to see who they pair him up with next, though.
You were saying Rob Font, man, that's not really even a competitive fight, in my opinion. Like, I love Font as much as the next guy. I don't think that's even close at all.
I completely agree. And that's why I posted that up on Twitter, X, whatever, because I wanted to hear, after this big win, everyone's talking about Payton Talbott now. The secret's out. They all know. They know how good he is. But I wanted to get that kind of like mid-level top, 15 guy and be like, what do they think of this? And sure enough, man, you had some people out there that were still lining Rob Font as the favorite. And I'm like, shit, if they gave me anywhere near even money on Payton Talbot, I would be smashing it for another max bet tomorrow. I think he's ready for that fight now.
Well, just like anything, man, the reason that lines are the way that they are is somebody has to lose. It's just like the stock market. Every time you buy and sell, somebody else is buying and selling. Somebody got to win and somebody got to lose. And so, that's how it goes. More for me.
I hear you. Thomas in the chat says, I demand Talbot versus McKee. That'd be interesting.
Wow, that's a great fight. Yeah.
That'd be a good fight. I would like that. All right, man. Hey, we got a good little solid intro roll up here, but let's not waste any more time. We got some fights to talk about. There's money to be made. Let's get into it. First fight of the evening, Angel Pacheco takes on Caolán Loughran, and we are starting the night out weird, man. this is already a fight where the only thing I'm seeing, in the Twitter sphere these days is people just parlaying the shit out of Loughran. And I'll be honest with you, man, I don't understand it. Now, I'm tipping my hand, for the breakdown already right off the punch here. But did anybody else watch Loughran's UFC debut? Now, I know he was going up against the stiff test for your UFC debut. Nobody really is really surprised, I don't think, by him getting kind of outpointed and shown the ropes by Taylor Lapilus. Very technical, hard to get your hands on, hard to take down. Like that's a tough guy to fight. But this guy is like, he's a beefcake, right? He's big, he's strong, he's beefy. He's not overly athletic. He does keep that, that hand kind of plastered right up to his jaw to protect himself, but he bites down and he really relies on his physicality and that right hand of his. He's going to have a hard time catching people who I think are faster than him. And if he can't just kind of physically outmuscle you, he's not the most technical guy in the world, that I think people will be able to get the better of him on the feet as long as they don't get caught by that death punch. And Angel Pacheco, 7-2, he's one of these rare cases where he lost on Dana White's Contender Series, and they're still giving him the call. He lost to Danny Silva, and he just got the win over Joshua Kalibau. Big dog that a lot of people liked, came through. In that fight on Dana White's Contender Series, man, they went to absolute war. 197 significant strikes versus 204 significant strikes. I mean, I think it makes sense that they're giving this kid a shot at the UFC level after that kind of a showing. I love the way he strikes, man. Lots of volume, everything in combos. He's always ripping the body. And that's something that I think could really give Loughran some problems, because if you're going headhunting on a guy that's built like a brick, it may not work for you. But if you're starting to tax the body, you're hitting the rib cage, like that's how you get to those types of guys. And Pacheco's been durable. Not only that, he's dropping from 145 to 135, where I think he might have a bit more of a physicality advantage that he kind of was losing up at 145 pounds. This fight, I think, is going to be a lot closer than the odds suggest. Now, I haven't been bold enough quite yet to actually put my money on Angel Pacheco at this spot, but I'm kind of baffled at how high the line's gotten. Minus 355 on Loughran, plus 280 on Angel Pacheco. I might have to, man, just like for a 1-unit play, because I feel like it's too much at this point. What do you think?
Yeah, I couldn't disagree more. And the reason being, one, we have I can't say a lot. So Caolán came in a few months ago to Fight Ready, and he was there for a few weeks. And so I got to watch him spar. I got to watch him train. Santino, if you guys listen to our podcast, I'm not going to tell you what he said, so you have to go listen to exactly what he said. But very good grappler. And from all accounts, I didn't get to train with him because I had just torn my hamstring. Like, he came in like the Monday after I tore my hamstring. So I didn't get to really train with him. Looked great in the gym. Great sparring rounds. Everything looked great. The dude's tough. One thing is that Pacheco is moving down from 145 to 135. And, I guess stylistically, things are a little different. I think one of the reasons I've been having success this year is I'm taking into account everybody's fight style this year. Not, oh, this guy put up mad volume event against him, so he'll do the same against him. Is like every fight is so different, right? You look at Danny Silva, he's a volume puncher, he's a boxer, in-close boxer. It's very different than Caolán, who's big shots, bigger puncher, less volume, bigger puncher. And at 135, I worry a lot about Angel Pacheco's chin. He got chinned so many times in the Silva fight. He's gotten chin before that. He's all over the place. Now he's moving down to 35, less fluid on the brain against a bigger puncher, a guy who sits on them a little bit more, has a good center of gravity. I think that if Pacheco tries to work the body, he's going to get tagged. And he's not an overly big, he wasn't a big featherweight, and he's not a big bantamweight too much either. He's a little chunky. I think this is hey, thanks for fighting Taylor Lapilus in your debut fight. Here's one for you, Caolán.
Okay. All right. Fair enough, man. And hey, this is why, guys, I got to tell you, Brandon is one of my favorite guests because it's my show. And a lot of people who I'm friendly with come on. Are you drinking syrup? Is that a jug of maple syrup? What are you doing?
It's tea, man. Come on.
Oh man, no, but we're always having fun. Like that's always the name of the game here with me is that positivity, respect, all that good stuff. But I love Brandon because he has absolutely zero issue disagreeing with me. And like if I get something wrong, he calls me on it immediately, and I love it. And that's why I love having this guy on repeatedly. Because
we'll get there a little later. We'll get there. I
love
later.
It. Oh yeah,
I did want to say one last thing, if that's okay. Somebody said 2 of Loughran's opponents were combined 0-70 when he fought them. Always makes me laugh looking at his topology. Yeah, there's a lot of that out there, right? There's a lot of guys who fight guys that have horrible records. Here's the issue. Loughran trains under Mike Grundy, right? He's an Irish kid, but trains under Grundy. He's a heralded prospect. He's known. He's been talked about. It's tough for those kind of guys to get fights, right? Guys that are big prospects. So yes, that doesn't always look good. I think it's a lot more concerning when you see these guys from the Ukraine fighting 10 guys that are like that, right? That's a lot different. Like that one dude, Mazarov or whatever, right? When it's a guy like Caolán Loughran, it's because nobody will fight him. So he fights who they can get in front of him. Look at C-Rod. You just brought him up. C-Rod's last opponent before he made it to the UFC was like 6-12 or something like that. Like just a horrible record. So, you can fight who's in front of you. That's it.
Yeah. You can only do with what you can get. I totally understand that, and that does make some sense. There's a few guys we'll talk about later in the show. There's one that I actually have to laugh at a little bit as far as the records go, but we'll get there. We'll get there. All right, everybody. Next fight up, we've got Andre Petroski. He's taking on Jacob Malkoun. And if you guys know anything about me, you know that I can't call an Andre Petroski fight to save my soul, man. Like this guy, I cannot get him right, Brandon. It makes no sense to me. He's 10-2, big, strong, powerful squeeze. He looks like he's gassing out late, but he's one of those guys that's kind of mind over matter and just like forces himself through the exhaustion to continue doing what he needs to do. I'm still a little salty about the split decision against Gerald Meerschaert. I bet Gerald that night. I thought Gerald had done enough. I thought Gerald had a couple opportunities to finish him and he didn't quite get it done. Like I don't know what it is, but Andre just keeps on like slipping through my fingers as a better here. But he's got a 71% takedown defense, and he's coming off getting nuked by Pereira, who's looking real good at 185 pounds. Jacob Malkoun, 7-3, and he's everybody's favorite cardio machine, not named Marab, right? Like this guy, I got to tell you though, I had maybe one of my favorite bets of all last year when I took Cody
Brundage. Jesus Christ, man.
Round 1, TKO or DQ. Thank you, DraftKings, at 20-1. Because, bro, if you go back, I made a TikTok of it. I literally said that Cody might look for the door. So I played the KO DQ on DraftKings, not the KO on FanDuel, knowing I wanted the DQ. It was literally part of the handicap. And he takes his way out, and I got paid out on that. Absolute gift. Hilarious because everyone was rioting and I couldn't have been happier. Really, really good stuff. But Malkoun does essentially nothing but chain grapple. I mean, even the funniest thing about the Brundage DQ was the strikes meant nothing. Like I could have taken those. Like, you know what I mean? He doesn't have like heat in his hands or anything like that. He's just kind of scoring from top position. The ref will step in to like save somebody, but he's not hurting anybody. You know what I mean? The one thing I worry about Malkoun is his chin. Phil Hawes dusted this guy. Like, I really don't know how durable he is. And with the way he just kind of plows straight forward into people trying to get those takedowns and stuff like that, it's in the back of my mind, man. I keep waiting for somebody to catch him coming in with a knee or an uppercut, or you know what I mean? Black Beast and Blades style, just catching him as he's coming in for a predictable reshoot type of situation. This is a weird fight to me. Petroski is a plus 180 underdog. Malkoun is minus 218, minus 220, using these DraftKings lines here that I'm seeing. And I don't know, man. I want to say Malkoun because he should just be able to maul Petroski. He's got the better gas tank. And if anyone's going to win this fight, it's probably the wrestler, not the BJJ guy. But like at the same time, I've seen Petroski just do what he needs to do. And if Malkoun is constantly getting in the grappling realm, that's going to provide him opportunities to do what he wants to do. And he's a big, thick, meaty boy that can hit hard. Petroski could always clip him. I'm going to pick Malkoun to go ahead and win the fight. Like you kind of have to, but it's not without fear for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know what you mean. And actually, I agree a lot. Here's a couple of things that I'm looking at. So one, the Cody Brundage Malkoun fight, Brundage got him down in the first 10 seconds of that fight. And the thing that I worry about is Petroski's a really, like, I don't know, you just said a BJJ guy versus a wrestler, but Petroski is traditionally a wrestler that learned BJJ, and he's very, very good at it. And the thing that I worry about is if Malkoun goes with the same game plan that he always does, we could see Petroski counter grapple, which he's very, very good at, and end up on top. And then his control in his top game is phenomenal to me. I think legitimately his jiu-jitsu is excellent. On the feet, I don't worry much, right? He's got these little T-Rex arms. He has zero setup. He's got just swings, hammers. And I think Malkoun plays very safe, sees a lot of things coming, and he's very comfortable with his game. The line is the way that it is, obviously, because of the cardio, right? Malkoun fights within himself and doesn't gas himself out. Old me would have been like, oh, I'm parlaying Malkoun every which way that it goes. New me is going to take a round and watch how it goes and probably live bet this one. So same thing as you. I'm going to go with Malkoun. I think you have to, right? He's just a cleaner, more composed fighter, better cardio, better fundamentals. But absolutely, could I see Petroski stuff a takedown, swing to his back and grab a submission or ride out 2 rounds of top control. By the 3rd round, I think it might be too late. So realistically, I will go Malkoun. I could see an inherent danger here with Petroski.
All right. I'm glad to hear that you're kind of with me on that spot, man, because I kind of had the same vibe. I don't like many of these favorites on this card. I'll be honest with you, man. It's one of those weeks where it's nasty out here.
Dude, I totally agree with you. Last night when I was studying film, I was like, man, I had to reschedule from the card that I really, really liked. And then I get this one and I'm like, man, I don't like this card at all.
It's not. Yeah, man. I feel like you could almost do like, shout out my guy, Matty Betts. He's betting blindly, betting $1,000 on every single college basketball underdog for March Madness and just like letting the chips fall. I feel like you could do that on this card. Just like bet every single money line dog and like see if you come out profitable. It might work this week.
I wouldn't do that, but to each their own.
I wouldn't do it either. I'm just saying you could. Oh man. Darian in the chat saying that we got to do a show with Guru. I assume you mean like Brandon's Guru, right? Like the the MMA Guru. Is that who we're talking about?
Little bitch MMA Guru.
Oh my God. Okay. I don't know if he even knows who I am at this point, but is what it is. I honestly have never watched a single piece of his content outside of what get like posted on my Twitter timeline when people share.
Yeah, it's funny though. I like his stuff. Don't tell him I said that, but I like his stuff. It's funny.
Okay. Secret safe over here. All right, everybody. Next up, we've got Melissa Gatto, and she takes on Victoria Dudakova. And this is a tough fight for me, Brandon. There's a real tough fight for me. So Melissa Gatto has gotten the diehard MMA my girl stamp. Like, I fell in love with this chick. I'm a big fan of hers. We made some money on her a couple times. And now I'm nervous because she's on an 0-2 skid. And one thing that we talk about a lot is like recency bias, right? Recency bias in women's MMA. You see something and the odds flip drastically from the last booking. And it's like, whoa, slow down, pump the brakes. But one thing we don't talk about a lot is confirmation bias. And a lot of people may not even know what that is. But when you've got a personal bias on something, like there's a fighter you like, or there's an angle that you see, and you go out and you hunt for the information to find the thing that kind of reaffirms that, yes, you're on the right track, you're still kind of finding your own truth there, right? Like, it's not necessarily the wide view scope you need to have when you're looking at a fight. And I'm worried I'm doing that here because I really like Melissa Gatto. Like I said, 2-fight skid. She got out grappled by Cortez. It is what it is. But the split decision to Lipski, man, I think she won that fight. Like, running it back, I still think she won that fight. She outstruck her by like 20 significant strikes. She went 0-7 on takedowns, and I think the optics of the fight with her getting stuffed so many times is kind of what had a lot to do with her not getting the nod from the judges there in that spot. But it was close. It was a very competitive fight, and she's got long, straight, clean punches, 1-2 down the pipe, counter hooks. She circles out really well. She's big. She's strong. She's physical. I like her clinch knees when she gets in close, and she's a solid submission threat. Now, every once in a while, she goes to her back a little too often for me, but that's because she's confident from her back, right? BJJ player. She wants to play from down there. Okay, no problem. We'll forgive her a little bit. She'll have a 2-inch reach advantage in this spot, but Victoria Dudakova, 8-0, just 25 years old. She's 2-0 off of the Contender Series. Now, unless I'm mistaken, she's still out at MMA Masters. She's got fast hands. She's going to have a speed advantage in this fight. And I am definitely a speed kills guy, right? Like if I can find that speed angle, I like to lean on that. She has good pull counters, good kicks from the outside, but she also likes to kind of bully people and use that grappling. And she went 0 of 3 against Jinyu Frey, who's the kind of the shell of Jinyu Frey at this point in her life, right? She just tries to kind of crush into people and blow them over physically. And the physicality side of things, I think, is going to be on the Melissa Gatto side. So if we've got two people who want to grapple, neither of them are like real wrestlers. I kind of feel like Gatto is going to do well enough in the grappling aspect that she should get the check mark there. Now, Dudakova probably the hand speed check mark there. So it's a close fight, but I feel like Gatto, with the experience, with the size, with the reach, I like her here in this spot. And I'm just wondering, am I not looking at this clearly enough? Because Gatto is a minus 150 favorite. Dudakova is about plus 125. And it looks like some money has come in on Dudakova. Gatto was minus 165, I think, when I took a look at the odds and I wrote my breakdown here. So I'm tempted to go back to the well and lay it with my girl Gatto. But I'm a little nervous that that Dudakova is going to be legit, because these young fighters, man, you know how quickly they improve. And I feel like she's someone who's going to be on her way up real quick.
Yeah, what you're saying. So two things. I like that. I think the thing that's helped me die. Honestly, I know I won $1 million in 2022, but I think this year has actually been my best betting year yet. And here's the reason why. I'm seeing things for what they are, not what I want them to be. So just like you said with the confirmation bias, see things for what they are, not what you want them to be. That's why I avoided the Gerald Meerschaert fight, because I hate that guy. And I didn't want to lose money just because I don't like him, even though I understand where he's going to win and how he can win, right? So yeah, great advice. Don't look for confirmation bias. You're just feeding farther into it. And every time I feel extreme conviction and I find every confirmation bias, I end up killing myself like on the bet, because I go way too hard and then it's horrible. First of all,
I may have done that today.
Yeah, you did 100%. And we'll get there. And I need to yell at you. But I heard this is up a weight class. Is that true? First of all, why is this, this little bubble, why does that keep popping up?
I have no idea. I keep seeing that. And I thought it was something on your end that I was like, did he like plug his phone into something? Like, I have no clue what this little thumbs up thing is, man.
Yeah, there's a thumbs up bubble keep popping up. I don't know what's going on.
It's like perfectly on that steak behind you too, that I was like, did you like set up a setting on your phone that repeats that? Or I have no clue. I've never seen that before.
Okay, I thought this was just part of the show. New network, thumbs up bubble.
Maybe they've got a setting when someone hits the like button that it does that. So
I know someone said a thumbs up.
I don't know.
Anyways, is this up a weight? There it is again. Is this up a weight class?
See how it's like split on your side of the screen though? So like it didn't come over on my side. It's only on your side. I don't know.
Oh well, we'll rock with it. Is this up a weight class?
Let's see here. We are looking at 125 for this one.
Oh, this is 125.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that is
Dudakova fought 25 before.
Yeah, that's where Gatto usually fights, is 125.
And what about Dudakova? Is she a 15
Dudakova is moving up. She will be moving up a weight class for this, it looks like.
Okay, so that was the point we were kind of trying to get to. I think that recency bias actually doesn't favor Dudakova at all. I thought she looked horrible in the Jinyu Frey fight. Horrible.
She did.
In a fight that she should have won pretty clearly. And I am the biggest Jinyu Frey lover in the entire world. Like I will die for that woman. And I thought Dudakova was going to smoke her. And it turns out she has staph in her butthole, which tends to mess with some things, right? I like Gatto, and I see why everybody's on Gatto. For some reason, I feel like the UFC this is her Cameron Simon for Payton Talbott. A very tough person, somebody that is understood as very good. But I think Dudakova, a little bit cleaner, less robotic striking. And honestly, if she starts working the grappling, finally, like she refused to do in the last fight. Think about Tracy Cortez. Tracy cannot spell BJJ. And did just fine, right? Couple rough moments, but did just fine. I think Dudakova is probably better on top and a little safer. Honestly, I have zero interest in this fight, but I'm going to pick Dudakova only because I picked her on our show too, and I don't want to be a little flip-flopper. But I think size and strength could be an issue here. And Gatto is not a walk in the park. She is strong and does a lot of things well. Nice, snappy jab. But I'm going to choose Dudakova with almost zero faith.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to kind of do the same thing here and pick Gatto. I'm going to stay on the Gatto side here where I think the size and the grappling could be the difference in this spot. You know, my guy Wheezy in the chat saying this is the UFC kind of punishing her for missing weight at 115. They're making her go up to 125 for this spot. And we've seen that go poorly.
Butthole, you know, let her go.
Yeah. I feel like you should get a pass for that one. But to your point, man, I like Jinyu Frey myself. But the one big issue I have with Frey is she refuses to wrestle outside of one round. She wrestles one round per fight, one round only. And like, if she would just take people down, she would win so much more often.
Yeah, I mean, she's got good grappling, but I think she gets tired is the problem.
Yeah. But that's where I think, like I said, I think the physicality and the grappling, if Gatto gets on top, if she watches that fight and goes, Frey did it, I can do it. Like, she could just muscle this girl. And
she only wrestles one round like somebody else we're going to talk about in a little bit.
All right. So we're split here on this one. What's up, everybody? We got 120 live viewers already. Do me a favor and hit the like button. I see you all in here talking shit and giving your opinions. We appreciate you guys being here. What's up, Genova? What's up, the It Factor? My guy, Uncle Wheezy, spreading some knowledge. We had Tone Miggs from Pub Sports Radio hanging out with us. Everybody's here. Next up, we've got Ibo Aslan taking on Anton Turkalj in the rematch of the century. Ibo Aslan, guys, has only one loss on his professional MMA record, and it's to none other than the pleasure man himself, Anton Turkalj. Round 2 submission loss. And for his UFC debut, he's got a shot to go ahead and get that back. Now, you guys know I love me some pleasure man. I like the persona. I like the swag. He's 0-3, though. He's 0-3 in the UFC. 27 years old. Not a good look. I did not expect him to get nuked in his last fight the way that he did against a ready for retirement Tyson Pedro. That was disappointing. And not a good look, especially with Pedro hanging it up immediately after. But that's kind of Turkalj's game, right? He's got a Homer Simpson it. The guy's a grappler and a grappler only, and he takes a beating to get into range. And then he does have that Bear Jew Paul Craig one-hitter quitter power, where if he just kind of swings wildly, he can hurt you with something and clip you. But again, his bread and butter is the ground game. He's got to grapple you. He's got to back take you. He's got to ground and pound you. He's got definitely some solid submission upside, very opportunistic. But Ibo Aslan, like I mentioned, 12-1, 100% KO rate. This guy has only seen round 3 once. He's got 2 fights that went past the first round, and he's won in one of those. He got submitted by Turkalj in one, and he knocked the dude out in the second one. So this guy just is all money, all action, all pain all the time. He starts a little bit slow, finds his timing, and just destroys the legs of whoever's in front of him. And then once you start thinking, oh shit, my shin hurts, then he cracks you right in the jaw. Like, it's a pretty effective style, man. And I feel like the UFC is putting him in this spot to kind of get one back. Turkalj is really kind of underwhelmed in his UFC run to this point. And I feel like in the rematch, Aslan will be able to pace himself a little bit more. He almost had Turkalj out of there in the first round the first time they fought. If he just slows it down a tad, I think he can win this one. I think he's set to make a solid debut. We're at just about a pick 'em. It looks like slightly minus 125 on Ibo Aslan, and I will pick him to go ahead and get the win.
Is the line really that close? What are you looking?
It is. Yeah, it's a coin flip.
Wow. I need to go enter a bet on that immediately. Not that I love a guy like Ibo Aslan. I hate those kind of fighters that are just swinging for the fences and muscled up and just very aggro, because when they can't get their game off, you see exactly like that happen. Honestly, here's my only takeaway. They fought once, and it was an insane fight. Just from the hip, swinging as wild as possible, dropping each other, and then Anton ends up coming out victorious. And then watching his Contender Series fight, Ibo's, he was still swinging like that with aggression, with some hate in his heart, but at least his hands were like up and somewhat cleaner. I think the UFC loves him. Obviously, we see setup fights like this from time to time. He's fighting a guy who's 0-3 in the UFC. And he got an easy fight on Contender Series. He's in Vegas. I always like to bet on the guys that are in Vegas, because they're around the people who talk, and they're at the PI, and they're at all this stuff. So people know, and those guys tend to get favorable matchups. Man, I am so low on pleasure, man. I've always thought he was horrible. And the fact that he's had any type of success in his career not only bothers me, but it just surprises me. And Again, I don't like Ebo and don't love his game very much, but I think he's gonna probably kill Anton. And yeah, that's all I got. I think he's gonna kill Anton.
Yeah, after seeing what happened to Anton in his last fight, I have to agree that it's probably going to happen again. I think the line is probably this close just because Anton won the last one, maybe. I'm
Well,
not
that's
sure.
100% what it is, right? In the cardio play and all that stuff. But man, Anton eats every punch with his face and doesn't even have a particularly amazing chin. And,
Yeah.
you know, a lot of those question marks were about Anton going into his debut is like, can he survive past the first round? It's all been quick finishes. And what does he look like round two? So you have two guys like that. One's more technical and hits harder, and the other one just got viciously knocked out. So I'm surprised, man. I really thought you were going to go with Anton.
You know what, man? That's one of those ones where, when you look at the card, you haven't done any of your research. You just kind of go down the line and pick them as you go by, just top of your head.
That's me every card.
Yeah, man. I thought I was going to pick Anton too. Like I've bet on him twice already here in the UFC, but maybe it's because I'm 0-2 putting money on him that I'm like, maybe we should pump the brakes on Anton just a little bit here. But I think I kind of got to let this one go.
All right.
All right. And my guy Ethan Hershey always trying to get me to drink, saying you want a shoey on it, man. So you want Anton, and I'll take Aslan. Is that the bet for a shot, Ethan? Is that what's going on here? Let me know. Let me know.
Will this dude put it on camera if he loses? Is that the deal?
Yeah, that's the deal. If he loses, the only problem is he's got like a 3-0 run going on me, so I just do shots on my podcast.
Oh, okay. I didn't know you guys had it like that. I like to see these people that comment. I like to see their face sometimes, so that's kind of nice.
No, for sure. Ethan's already come out and said that obviously he'll post it up on Twitter or something. If he's
when
the one that
come
takes
out, I thought
L.
you were going a completely different direction. So all right, next one.
Oh no, see, he's saying he wants Aslan. We're on the same side, Ethan. We can't do a bet. We're on the same side.
Ethan, why don't you make it about a 5-unit bet? We'll talk about later.
Oh my God, I can't wait to get to that. This is going to be, you guys are in for a treat. I'm going to get my ass beat live on camera tonight. Connor Matthews takes on Denis Buzukja in the next fight here, man. And we were just talking about, how we get these fighters that have a rough run in the UFC, and it seems like somebody gets softballed a matchup, and I almost feel like that can be applied to this fight here, because Denis Buzukja, he's had a tough go of it, man. He's had a real tough go of it. I was kind of like Anton Turkalj. I was intrigued by this guy. I was a little interested in this guy, and then he comes and gets laid on by Sean Woodson, which in my opinion, not a grappler, bad look. And then he gets smoked by Jamall Emmers. Now, both those guys are, freaks of nature as far as how large they are in the cage and for 145. They're big, big dudes. But I thought he would have the skill set to be able to kind of hang in there. It seemed like he kind of struggled with the cardio, seemed like he struggled with the size. And now he's getting Connor Matthews. UFC debutant. He's one of these 2 times Dana White Contender Series contestants. And I don't know if you heard my rant last week, Brandon. I feel like the guys, unless your name's Bo Nickel and they're like trying to get you some experience, the 2-time guys that have to come back and get a second shot on Dana White's Contender Series, I'm suspect that they're just not that good. Wynn was a guy last week that we talked about. He was a 3 times and he got his ass whooped. So like that, I'm keeping my eye on these 2-time Dana White's Contender Series contestant.
What about Joe Pyfer? How would you classify him?
He's a Bo Nickel, right? Joe Pyfer, Bo Nickel, the guys that Dana White's like, I love this dude. We need a good fight on Dana White's Contender Series. Come on back, get one more. You gotta separate it out from the guys that need the extra effort to get there. You know what I mean?
Well, let me ask you this, just going on that point really quickly. If they asked Casey Tanner to come back on Contender Series, would you say the same thing about him?
That's a good question. I would have to go back and rewatch his last fight.
Because he fought John Masamoto, right? He's like Junior Cortez. Think about Junior Cortez. Did much better than Cameron Simon, and his 2 fights that he had in Contender Series was Fiorot and Payton Talbott. Tell me a harder 2 fights that you could possibly have. So, and he did better than anybody. He took a round off Talbott, which, I guess Aguirre did that. But I think that's a pretty big generalization. There are some guys.
I got to tweak it.
Tweak it a bit.
I got to tweak it. That's the thing.
I get where you're going. I understand.
I haven't nailed it down, but it's like if you're passing the eye test, you know what I mean? Like you got to take into account strength of competition, that kind of thing. But it's a work in progress. Anyway, Connor Matthews is one of these guys that I'm not so sure about because he's 1-1 on Dana White's Contender Series. Now he made it to the big show. I do like his jab. He's got solid power. He's got good size for the weight class. He fought Francis Marshall on Contender Series and really kind of struggled with the guy mixing in the grappling and stuff like that. But that was such a huge step up in competition for him. You look back, this is the guy I was alluding to earlier. You look at the run of opponents he had pre Dana White's Contender Series. 0-7, 1-8, 2-1. Jay Ellis, 1-2. Like that's this guy's resume before Dana White's Contender Series. So just a massive leap up, but they bring him back. And the second time around, he does a whole hell of a lot better against the guy who I think was 10-0 on the show that second time. So I'm not sure about Connor Matthews. He could be a bust. He could also be a guy that just fought the guys in front of him and did well enough, and now he's finally got his shot. I like his power. I like the way he game plans. I like that he got some 15-minute experience, took a decision on Dana White's Contender Series. Like, those are all things kind of pointing me in the right direction. Buzukja definitely has some good boxing. I like his range control. I like the way he level changes. This is a really competitive fight here to me. I kind of lean dog or pass. Connor Matthews is the new hotness coming off the Contender Series. Buzukja, again, a guy that kind of got figured out. But I don't want to bet this fight, guys. I'm going to pick Matthews, but I'm going nowhere near this with my money because I could see this being the spot where Denis Buzukja gets a slight break in competition and all of a sudden looks like $1 million. It's going to be competitive until it's not.
Hold on. Let me pull up Denis Buzukja's record. I need to take a look at it. I like Connor Matthews, man. I like Buzukja too. It was funny is like, you don't bet much regionals, do you?
Not as much as I would like to, no.
Okay. I've been betting both of these guys for ever and ever and ever. Like Denis Buzukja, I think I had like, I put some stupid bet on him when he was on Contender Series against, who was it? Kaleo Romero. And then I think I bet him against Aslan Abanakarov. And who else did he fight? I think that's it. Connor Matthews, it took a lot of digging and a lot of like inside information of people that actually trained with Connor Matthews to figure out where he was, right? And that was going into the Francis Marshall fight. Now, people are going to be really hard on Francis Marshall because of one bad fight, but man, we see what Dulgarian is. Like, come on, again, see things for what they are, not what you want them to be. I don't think Francis Marshall is a fraud by any means. Francis Marshall is good. He's a tough kid. He's got good striking, good grappling. Like, he does everything well. He's super game to fight. I don't think you go bad on him because he lost to Dulgarian. Like, come on,
Yeah.
And so, what really impressed me about Connor Matthews, people talk about his bad defense. To me, and I'm going to make this parallel, I'm going to be very careful here. It reminds me of Payton Talbott, the way that he's willing to put his face in danger to get off his offense. I'm not saying he is Payton Talbott. He doesn't pull and counter and have all this crazy stuff, but he is willing to put his face in danger because he lands harder and to break you with pressure. And for me, Buzukja is like one of these guys. And if you watched last week's show, I kind of said this about Steve Wynn, actually. Mm-hmm. He reminds me of Markel Medeiros and like Josh Quinlan. They do all these feints and all this cool stuff. And it looks great. Like, you look like you really know what you're doing. When at the end of the day, what's really important is a jab, forward pressure, cutting off the cage, volume, cardio. Like, it's these really simple things. It's not the cool looking stuff. It's not switching stance and doing all the TJ Dillashaw stuff. Sometimes it's a jab. That's what's important. From all accounts, inside New England Cartel, Matthews hits like a truck. He's one of the hardest hitters on the team. And for me, I think Buzukja is going to take round one. I think he's got enough gas and enough cardio to look really good on the feet, make all the right reads, kind of pick him apart. But then round two, when he gets a little bit more tired or Matthew starts cutting off the cage just a little bit or landing those body shots or popping that jab, I think eventually Matthews wears him down. And I like his power, man. I could see a round two, round three knockout from Connor Matthews. I think, and watch all the promos. I mean, I've watched enough regional MMA to see all the promos that they cut that are super annoying, that replay over and over and over again until the actual event starts. And half them are Connor Matthews and talking about his second chance. Now he's getting a guy who hasn't won in the UFC. So who's getting set up with who with a lower level of competition? That Brazilian dude on Contender was talented. That dude was solid. And what I liked is how well Connor Matthews mixed in his grappling. Like, it wasn't all just striking. He mixed in his grappling well. He does get cracked, but does Buzukja have the power to finish him and put him out? I don't know. So for me, I like Connor Matthews here.
All right. We're lining up on the same side on that one, man. And that might push me over the edge to add the bet here. We'll see. Cause I've been kind of looking at Connor Matthews since I previewed this thing, and I'm very interested, man. I like a lot of dogs this week. We'll see what I end up doing though. Next up, we've got Julio Arce taking on Herbert Burns. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, the return of Herbert Burns. The last time we saw this man, he was getting carried out like it's the end of like a cheesy romance movie by his brother Gilbert, and they have officially marked his loss as due to exhaustion. Like he just had zero energy left and could not move against Bill Algeo in his last fight, and they went ahead and rescued him in that spot. What a weird fight to come back from. We haven't seen him since 2022. Now, he's a meme machine, man. Like the KO over Nate Landwehr, who we'll talk about a little bit later on this card. Big knee right up the middle. It seems like he's not really the greatest striker in the world, but he's got decent timing, and he's got that Burns explosivity in those genetics there somewhere. He's a solid BJJ player, obviously not the credentials of his brother, but he's very, very good. Crazy transitions and always attacking submissions, man. He chains one thing to the next thing to the next thing. Like, I don't want to roll with Herbert Burns. I really don't. But he's a bit of a glass cannon. It seems like he's got no gas, and I think he's a little mentally breakable. I think that's a big thing, is that as soon as he's not, well, okay, he is. As soon as he's not in the driver's seat, he just kind of falls apart, man. He will have a 3-inch reach here in this spot, and he's taking on Julio Arce, who at 34 years old, I just feel like is still so underrated. Now, that's a weird thing to say considering he's like a minus 450 betting favorite going into this fight, but I love Julio Arce. He's a Tiger Schulman, Muay Thai striking type of dude. He's got a powerful jab on him. One of those jabs that's not a rangefinder, but it like hurts people's faces. He's very heavy on his feet. He walks people down. There's no wind up on his strikes whatsoever. Lots of footwork and movement and good straight shots, man. I like the way he manages his gas and his energy. And right there is kind of the key, right? Like, I feel like he's just going to kind of touch Herbert Burns until Burns kind of collapses in on himself. This is one of the few favorites on the card that I'm like, as long as Arce doesn't fuck up in round one, he should win this fight. He's got a 90% takedown defense rating. And I think he's only been submitted one time in his entire MMA career. And that was my guy, Brian Boom Kelleher, deep in round 3, which I'm not counting on Burns to be able to submit anybody in the 3rd round of an MMA fight. So I definitely think Julio Arce is the side. It's just kind of a matter of when and how. And he needs to not give Burns his opportunity early in the fight. Because if he disrespects him in round 1, Burns can finish people. So I'm very curious to see this fight, but definitely picking Julio Arce.
Yeah, to me, this is like, to be an effective jiu-jitsu player. Let me put it like this, right? Marcus Buchecha. He's the guy we all look up to. He's won more black belt world titles than anybody in the world, right? And he fought Rug in one championship, sometime last year. Rug from wherever in Africa, that zero jiu-jitsu, zero grappling, and couldn't submit that guy. Had his back, had him flattened out, had it. So my point is tradition, like jiu-jitsu, like all the fancy submissions and all the tales that you hear of, it doesn't exist. Like, what works is, okay, can I find the back and choke somebody? And that's it. Honestly, that's it. You get a Hail Mary guillotine every now and then, a random armbar every 1,000 fights. But like, jiu-jitsu submissions are very tough, except for getting the back. And even back defense these days is getting so good.
It's getting harder.
Even for me, like, you have to start working face cranks. You have to start adapting because people will just tuck their chin. They'll control their position. Like, it's much harder.
Dude, the body triangle era of MMA lasted like 2 events. Like, as soon as someone realized we were just backpacking body triangles, it doesn't happen a lot anymore. Now, all of a sudden, everyone knows how to defend it.
Oh, I disagree with that. I see so many people get stuck in it. And I was like, man, I'm the only one who knows how to get out now. But I get what, like, it's just tough. That's more positional than like, hey, I'm going to submit you from here. And to bet on a jiu-jitsu player, a guy who's okay standing, has zero cardio, zero heart, is 35 years old, against a guy in Arce who is an amazing boxer, great cardio, and is a very good black belt himself. Like, I literally mean that. He's a very good black belt. Positionally and MMA wise, he's probably better than Herbert Burns, even though Burns is tricky and has a few things. Like, he's very positionally solid. So it's, sub 1 for Herbert Burns, or Arce is going to knock his block off. And I like Arce here. I'm just the biggest Arce fan in the world.
I hear you, man. I'm with you. I like Arce a lot in this spot, but trying to find a way to bet him is going to be the trick. Um, Next fight up, ladies and gentlemen, we have got a ladies MMA fight. Virna Jandiroba takes on Lupita Godinez, and Lupi is absolutely everybody's favorite coming up here, Brandon. I, on the other hand, am partial to Virna. I love me some Virna. This girl is tough, man. There's something about her. Like, I love how durable she is. She's a BJJ black belt. She kind of reminds me of female Damian Maya, right? Like, not on that level, obviously, but the way he kind of put his game together, where he developed the striking a little bit. He's got a little bit of power, but he's just serviceable enough to just make his BJJ work. And then he's looking for the takedowns. He's looking for the back takes. Always got the submission opportunity. Tries to get on top. She trusts herself from her back if she needs to from there. But I like Virna. I feel like she's constantly underrated. Like, people kind of look past her as though she's a bit of an easy fight, and she's been doing nothing but be a tough out.
Are you trying to say look past her, like to insinuate something about Virna?
I would never. All right. Lupi, on the other hand, the thing, everybody knows Lupi. Everybody absolutely knows Lupi. Man, my problem with Lupi is sometimes I've got a hard time with her fight IQ. It seems like if she would embrace her ability, her wrestling chops a little bit more often, I feel like some of these fights would be easier for her. Now, again, that's me couch jockeying, but she's been in some fights where it went to split decision because it felt like she wanted to play on the feet a little bit too much. Where if she had just gotten the grappling going, or brought that as part of the game plan going in, she probably would have won the fight a little bit easier. You know, you look back at the run, and she had the loss to Angie Hill, split decision win over Cynthia Calvillo, Tabitha Ricci, another split. Obviously, two tough fights, but ones that I thought she was going to win much more handily than she did. So this is a spot where, man, this fight's got split decision written all over it for me. I think Virna's tough to take down, and she's really physically strong. And if we're going to have a boxing match on the feet, then this is the spot where Lupi probably can avoid the ground and put her boxing to work and kind of jab and poke and move on the feet and work her way to a decision. But I've got a hard time seeing either of these women really extend each other, extend themselves from their opponent. I think this is going to be a close fight, man. Lupi by decision, but I don't like it.
Yeah, I was saying this on our show a little bit earlier, is like, in a vacuum, I like Virna in this spot, like stylistically. And this was funny because I always use Angie Hill, right? When Angie upset Lupi, but then got destroyed by Virna, I always kind of say this is the two things, right? You have a wrestler with no control versus somebody who can't wrestle but has immaculate control. And it's a very big difference between the two. So it's really funny that now they're actually fighting each other. In a vacuum with no other factors, I think that Virna is a horrible matchup for Lupi because Lupi makes constant bad jiu-jitsu mistakes. Like, she's just so much more athletic and such a freak athlete than half these girls that she's fighting. She can afford to make those mistakes, no issue. But going for belly down arm bars when you have somebody's back and just like simple things that she's doing is just, it's going to get her in bad trouble against somebody who really knows what they're doing. That being said, now she's in Vegas, right? With the Iridium people, all the Mexicans, all the jiu-jitsu people. Santino brought up, like, all right, she's with Diego Lopez. Maybe this should help a lot, like with her jiu-jitsu. And maybe that's true. I think there's just some sort of star power that she has. Some sort of like, hey, this is her chance to shine. The UFC knows something that we don't. I think she's going to win here. And God, I don't even know how to express it. I think she's going to win. She's probably going to sprawl and brawl. I actually think the best part of Lupi's game is not her wrestling. I think it's her boxing. Her hands are really, really fast when she actually will box. But sometimes she gets a little bit square and starts skirting the outside and does some things that I don't like. She would pop in, box, back out. I love Lupi's game. God, this is a tough one because I could definitely see a world where Virna gets her down and submits her from Lupi doing something stupid. But, honestly, what I think is going to happen is even if she gets down, she's going to find a way to wrestle up and she will punish Virna on the feet. And Lupi is going to end up winning this.
That's exactly how I feel about it, man. Like, every fiber of my being is like, just nut up and take the dog, bet your girl Virna. And I'm like, fuck, man, I can't do it. Like, my gut says at the end of the day, it's going to be Lupi by decision. So I'm glad we kind of see that the same way. It's a real tough spot, but I'm looking forward to actually watching it play out. These women are both ones I'm a fan of, and definitely a fan of Yeah, I already said both of them. Love them both. So this is going to be a fun fight. Hopefully they make it entertaining for us. All right, everybody, real quick, let's show you a couple things. Pay a few bills here. First off, obviously the new home here. We are home of Fight. And if you guys want to jump in this Discord, it's an easy way to see what I'm playing every single week. I post these on Twitter and stuff like that, but I've got my own channel here on the Home of Fight Discord, complete with the recaps. And, sometimes I'll do write-ups and stuff like that. So if you guys want an easier place to track what I'm putting in every single week and just a cool place to come hang out and chat, like I mentioned, Gilbert Burns is involved, and so is Derek Brunson. These guys are in the chat. You can pop here in the general discussion and stuff like that, talk with a bunch of other MMA minds. We're definitely going to be active here. It's free. If you do want to sign up, there is a paid version, and you can get access to the premium picks, guys that are hanging around here. That's promo code DieHard, obviously, if you want to get that $5 off the subscription. But if you just want to come hang out, like I said, that part is free. Next up, we got Spectation Sports, and promo code DieHard will get you 20% off. If you guys want to see some more regional action, my guy Brandon was just talking about betting and making money on these shows. All In Combat is brand new to Spectation Sports. Cage Titans is coming up. They're one of our regulars. Awesome fighters coming out of Cage Titans, and a bunch of names that from the UFC and guys that are going to be soon on the Dana White's Contender Series. Make sure you check that out. We do want to shout out our guy John Kelly for Fight Numbers. Awesome tools for DraftKings, DFS, all that kind of stuff. Also, promo code DieHard should get you a discount if you guys want to sign up and use those. I actually made $200 this past week using his platform, guys. I am fishing a barrel in DraftKings. I am the perfect guy to promote this tool because I min cashed last week. Week before last week. And then last week, I was like number 38, man. I was like one good fight, one swap away from being in contention for a big ass payday. And that thanks to our guy, John Kelly, who's been here a guest on the show a couple of different times. Of course, we also have Bet Openly. You guys know this thing. We're going head to head with people. That's where you get these 1% juice odds, and every number on this platform is better because of it. Look at this. So Dennis Buzukja is a minus 115. You can get plus 115 on Connor Matthews. Instead of laying minus 155 on Gatto, you're getting minus 142. So it's a great place. You're not going to get limited because there is no bookie involved. Someone on the other side is actually taking your bet. And here's the fun part, guys. So Brandon, I don't know if you've seen my pin tweet, but I have long been waiting the opportunity for Jamahal Hill to get his belt back from Alex Pereira. And I am willing to put my reputation on the line. It's going to be a max bet for me. And I put it up on my pinned tweet here for people. If you guys want to just punish me, come get this pinned tweet. Okay. What I'm going to do is for every like on the tweet, I'm going to add $1 to my bet. I'm going to put it up on Bet Openly. And right now, Jamahal Hill is like a plus 125 underdog. I think he should be the favorite. I'm literally going to make the bet even money. So instead of laying minus 135 or minus 140, whatever Alex is out there, if you guys want to come get the action on Bet Openly, you'll get even money on that play instead. I'm going to give you a much better number than anybody else. And for every like, we add $1 to the tally. Now, I kind of fucked up, Brandon, because I put this on Twitter. We're already up over 800 likes. So I'm in there. And I thought, you know what? I should throw this up on Instagram because give them an opportunity. Guys, it's already got 2,600 likes on Instagram. So I thought it was going to kind of blow up on Twitter, but Instagram took it and ran with it. We're going to have to put a cap on this thing. Like, cause
come on, man. You made it. You have to honor it.
I did. I made it and I'm going to honor it. But like between Twitter and Insta, we're gonna have to put like a 10K cap on it. I'm gonna have to make some phone calls because I've told you guys multiple times I'm not the guy slinging that kind of cash. So this gimmick, I'm gonna have to make a few phone calls to make sure.
Who cares if you can't pay your mortgage? It is what it is.
My wife is going to absolutely kill me,
or she'll be really happy.
Or she'll be, if we win, she'll be really happy. But either way, guys, this is getting to the level of scary for me, but we're doing it. So in a week or two, I'm going to cut it off and then I'll post the play up. It'll be on Bet Openly. So you guys want to get signed up on Bet Openly so you can come take that bet from me. Because that's kind of the key here, man, is I want people that are on the other side that disagree with me. I want you guys to have the opportunity actually to come take that money for yourself, right? Like, so sign up. Obviously, we're already going to be up over 3K on this bet that's going to be there for any Alex Pereira backer for the taking. And it'll just be kind of first come, first serve. So get signed up here on Bet Openly if you want to come take my action and just punish me for not believing in the current UFC champion. I think it's going to be Jamall and New.
I have a question about this platform, this app. So one is, what is the max bet you can do?
I have seen $15,000 bets up on there, because what you do is you put up your bet, you put up your number, and people can take a piece of it. So like if you put a $5,000 bet up, I can come snag $100 and the rest of the bet sits. So you can come here to this open bets tab. These are bets people have already put up themselves. Utah Jazz plus 7.5. It's a 3-leg parlay, Mavericks, Kings, Clippers. Like, so you can see the money here, you know, the risk, the reward, and you can accept other people's bets. So you can put your own bet out there, or you can just kind of surf. Dude, during football season, I surf these open bets and I just take stupid people's parlays. Like when there's one or two teams that I'm like, I know are going to compete, I'll just like, I'll lay the wood on, I'll be the bookie on somebody's parlay, and I'll take that action knowing that they've got one or two bad picks in that parlay. So you can play both sides.
All right. Here's my second question. Can you see the punk bitch that bets on the other side against you? Do you know who they are? Can you communicate with them?
No, not at this point.
Good.
I don't believe so.
That's perfect. I don't like gambling enough, and if somebody were to victory lap me, because they're directly head to head with me, I would lose my mind. So good.
No, you can't do anything like that. The only way that happens is if somebody like me says, "Hey, I'm making this bet. Here's the link to it. If you want the other side, come get it." Like that's, you know, you would get that on Twitter or Instagram or something. You don't get that on the Bet Openly platform.
All right, fair enough.
Yep. But dude, it's cool. It's freaking cool. And the best part is, like, and they are the sponsor. I keep telling people they are the sponsor of the show. All right. Like, I'm supposed to tell you about this, but I actually believe in what they do. And I actually like what they offer because of the 1% juice. Guys, you can see it right here. They show you how much money that you have personally saved using this platform. I've saved over $2,000 just by using Bet Openly instead of playing on DraftKings or MGM or something like that. Because
tell them to sponsor me, man. I want a nice paycheck week to week on my show.
Hey, I know a guy. We can talk after the show. Maybe I can get you set up. Yeah, you got to use my link to sign up, though, so I get the credit.
All right.
All right, guys. That's enough. We had some good questions, so it went on a little longer than normal for the promo section of the evening. Thank you very much for sticking with us. This is Brandon Olivas, and he's got the thumbs up button going behind him. Thank you all for hitting the like button for us on the show. We got 130 live viewers. We're talking UFC Atlantic City, and we got a couple more fights to get into here. The next one up is Nate the Train Landwehr taking on Jamall Emmers, and I like Nate the Train a lot, man. Ever since he posted that video of him just, hardcore Republican suited up, staring his man down, the meme broke the internet, man. I love that shot of Nate the Train. But this guy is all gas, no brakes. He knows one direction, and that's forward. I love that front kick that he puts to work. He is Darren Elkins 2.0, right? Like he just comes to go to war. He's a little bit more technical, but he gets knocked out in like every single fight. Like how many fights have we seen this guy almost out and then like wake back up from a second shot, and then he's just invincible? Like the second, it's weird because usually when you get cracked like that, it's like, oh, one or two more shots and you're going to go down. It's over. But with this guy, it's like when he comes around from being cracked that first time, he's made of iron after that point. Like he's never rocked again the rest of the fight. It's unreal. Now, Jamall Emmers, this guy's got that frame. He's got that height. He's got that reach. He's athletic. I am not sure what to do with Jamall Emmers half the time, though, because the one big thing, kind of like what we talked about a little bit with Loopy, man, I will never forgive him for losing me money against Pat Sabatini. Never, ever, ever. Because he had Pat Sabatini dead. He had him on skates. And then he decided to roll heel hooks with Pat freaking Sabatini and lost. And I'm like, okay, that's it. Like bad IQ trash bin. Like I will never trust this dude in any fight because of that. But you can't take away from the fact that, in his UFC debut, he went to a split against Giga Chikadze. Like the guy's got skill. The guy's got talent. He's extremely athletic. If someone was going to just nuke Nate the Train, I think it could be a guy who's figuring it out a little bit here, like Jamall Emmers. I want Nate the Train to win for the culture. As a plus 180 underdog, him melting Jamall Emmers sounds like a good time. But this is one where I've kind of got that fandom that's a little bit in play, right? Like I cheer for Nate the Train. So you got to kind of put that aside for the bet. And I am having a bit of a hard time with that. Bottom line, I think I have to pick Jamall Emmers to win this fight, but over minus 200, like I mentioned, with that distrust that I have, never going to lay that number.
Don't be afraid, homie. I mean, it is what it is. No, I love Nate the Train as much as the next guy. And if I were to lose money on Bet Openly, I'm available for sponsorship. I'd be happy to lose it against Nate the Train. I love that dude. I love how he fights. He's so entertaining. Everything he does is just like, man, I need more of this. He's the kind of, personality that the UFC loves. I just think that I like Emmers' game. Like, great jabs, great long punches, defends. He kind of talked about it, that he's finally figuring things out. Like you said, he's finally taking training seriously and taking his technique seriously. And he always fights his fight. And that's what I love. He's not going to get overzealous. He's not going to blow his wad. He's fought high level of competition. Nate's getting older. Nate gets cracked every fight. I don't have too much to say about this one. I like me some Jamall Emmers in this spot.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. And that makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense to me. Maybe not a bad live bet spot though. Like if he gets cracked and then just doesn't fuck off, we could get a classic Nate the Train kind of punch his way back in.
Yeah, but I mean, does Emmers ever like just fall off a cliff? It doesn't happen.
No, he doesn't.
That's the issue.
He does play ankle locks though.
That shit don't exist.
All right, everybody. Next up, Chidi and Njokuani taking on Rhys McKee in one of the weirdest fights I've ever seen in my life. This is not a fight I saw coming, man. I didn't think this was a fight that would ever get booked. So you've got Chidi and Njokuani, who's 22-10, 2-3 UFC run. Currently, he's on a 3-fight losing skid, and he's dropping to 170. Like, this guy was huge at 185 pounds. He's going to cut a leg off. How is he going to lose 15 more pounds? I don't think this fight's happening. I'm going to say it right now. I don't think Chidi is going to make 170 pounds. Either that or he's going to miss by like 7, and Rhys McKee will accept the fight still, and it's just going to be god-awful. But Chidi, big heavy kicker, big frame for the weight class. He kind of needs that range to fight to the best of his abilities. He had Mikhail Lolek-Zaychuk hurt badly, man, with a head kick in that last fight. And Mikhail, he just bit down as soon as he got hit and he saw red and melted this man. Like, Chidi did a real good job a couple years ago, I feel like, of working hard on his grappling. That seemed to be the hole in his game. He would get real tired. He would get taken down. That was the problem. And that seems to have kind of gone away. Like, I don't know if obviously I don't know the guy's training scheduling or anything like that, but it seems like that's kind of an issue again. Like maybe he stopped working on it, but he's going to be 1 inch taller. He'll have 2-inch reach advantage here. And Rhys McKee, 13-5-1, looks to be a favorite of everybody moving in here already. He was plus 160 like a couple hours ago. He's all the way down to plus 120. Like, money is flying in on Rhys McKee. And to a certain extent, I kind of understand it. At 28 years old, you're kind of expecting him to make some improvements, but he's also 0-3 in the UFC, and he got his ass handed to him by Ange Loosa last week, or in his last fight, pardon me. He's a guy that also does the Homer Simpson, right? Like, he has to take everything you've got and then turn it up with his cardio and his volume and his pace, and he's a late finisher. You look at his Cage Warriors run. Round 3 finish, round 3 finish, round 4 finish. Like, the deeper the fight goes, the stronger this guy gets. And he's got an absolute brick for a head. He's very tough to actually put away, but he's so hittable. And that's the kind of thing where, again, this is a Chidi early, Rhys McKee late, right? Like, if Chidi can't get Rhys out of there and do it quickly, Rhys is probably just going to go ahead and smoke him the deeper this fight goes. So I get snapping up that plus 160. The closer this thing gets to pick him, the less I like it. Cardio is king, man. I think this fight ends violently. It's just a matter of who and when.
The Njokuani brothers are going to be the faces of Gamebred FC after this fight, I believe. Yeah, you're right. Like, we were talking a little bit earlier about Pacheco moving down, Dudakova moving up. Chidi was shredded at 185. It's not like he had some weight to lose. Like, he was shredded at 85. And, Lolek-Zaychuk melted him. It just looked like he hit a certain point. It was like, all right, I'm good off this. I don't need this anymore. Now you're going to move down, less fluid on your brain for the weight cut. That weight cut's going to be drastic. Your cardio is going to suffer. There's so many things wrong with this move down. When you have Rhys McKee, what are his 3 losses? He lost to Lusa, looked bad at first, but then he almost murdered Lusa. He lost to Hamza, and who was the last one that he lost to?
Dude, and Lusa was like straight running in round 3. I mean, like looking for the clock, like sprinting away from him in that 3rd round.
Yeah. I'll be honest, man. I kind of like Rhys's game, and that's like horrible to say, but I like that he has a nice snappy jab. He's calm,
Morono.
he's composed.
Morono was the 3rd one.
Nah. Oh, okay. Morono. I think I like his game. I know it sucks to say, but I just like a guy who's like calm and composed, that nice Euro style. I think he's going to win this fight. I put $1,200 on him at like plus 176, mostly because I knew that line was going to start shifting and moving. So it gives me a few options to play with, but I think I'm going to see it through. I'm going to hold on to this bet. I like me some Rhys McKee here to melt Chidi. Just when I see guys quit like that or can't put together 15 minutes, that's an issue for me. You know, getting drowned by John Salter, who was 55 years old when they fought, like not a great sign. And I don't think Rhys is obviously going to grapple, but then quitting against Olajaychuk the second he faced adversity, nothing really out of the first round. I like Rhys McKee. And it's not the greatest guy to have a lot of money behind, but he's going to show up for me in this spot.
Yeah, I'm kind of there with you, man. I'm kicking myself. I wanted to jump in on that plus 160, and then I kind of hesitated. And like I said, it's gone. Like now it's down to plus 120. You can still get plus money. But it's less enticing the lower that number gets.
Totally agree, man. It's all about the number. You bet numbers, not teams.
Yeah, exactly. And that's we'll see if the fight happens. That's my big thing. I don't even know if it's going to happen. We'll see on Friday what Chidi looks like on the scale. That's the big battle here. All right, everybody, we are moving. We got a couple fights left to go here. Next up, you have got Billy Q taking on Kyle the Monster Nelson. And I'm so happy, Brandon. I'm so happy because I don't plan these things. But you, sir, were on the podcast the last time I talked about Kyle the Monster Nelson. And I lost a parlay on Fernando Padilla. You had said that the line was too wide and Kyle Nelson was a bit underrated, and there were a couple things you weren't a fan of in the game of Fernando, and I was like, nah, bro, nah, I'm going to parlay him, and I went ahead and did it anyway. Sure as shit, you were absolutely 1,000% correct, and Padilla just didn't quite do enough in that fight. Now, Padilla got me my money back this past week. All right. I went back to the well with my guy, much better number, obviously. But he got the win there for me in his last fight. But I had to give you your props because you called it with Kyle Nelson. And this will be the second time in a row now that I've apologized for underestimating Kyle Nelson. And I'm about to do it again because I don't like him in this fight, man. I feel like he's done a real good job of managing the pace and managing the cardio, but he does gas, he does slow down, he does get tired. And Bill Algeo is a weaponized cardio freak, you know, as opposed to Fernando Padilla, who's going to kind of let you come to him and want to like move and counter and bait you in. Bill Algeo is going to come forward and he's going to melt you. And that worked real well against Kyle Nelson previously when he fought Billy Q. Now, Billy Q and Bill Algeo are essentially the same guy in my head. They do the same thing. They've got the same style. They've got the cardio. They're the same person to me. I feel like this fight's going to play out a lot like that one did. And once Kyle Nelson isn't able to really hurt Billy Q, that's when it's going to get tough for him. And Bill Algeo's not going to let him off the hook. This is one of the favorites on this card that I do like. I think Bill Algeo minus 218 right now looks like the number that you can get. It kind of came down, I think, just a little bit here in this spot. So I'm curious where this goes. But I think Bill Algeo can kind of replicate what Billy Q did, and I like him in this spot.
Oh, dude, I am the biggest Algeo fan in the world. To me, when I say ultra veteran, and I say that a lot, he is the biggest ultra vet of all ultra vets. I love Billy Algeo. I've made a ton of money on Bill Algeo. I will continue to make a ton of money on Bill Algeo. He's so game. He just always has the right decision, the right cardio, the right volume, the right game planning. Like even against Herbert Burns, like he got taken down and got in some bad positions and he just got his hips out. I'm up on the top and I'm going to elbow your face and make you pay for it. I love this dude. I think he's as dependable as they come. he'll get out physical. And if there was any fight he would lose, it would be the Brito fight, right? Just somebody who can just overwhelm him with physicality or crack him hard or something like that. And the dude passed with flying colors. Kyle Nelson is a slow, plodding target, very predictable striking. He just kind of dogged Padilla. And honestly, I actually forgot. I watched that fight live. I don't remember where it was, but I was there cage side. Oh, it was in Vegas. That was on Mexican Independence Day.
That was the one.
Yeah, Casey got us front row tickets, so we got to go sit like third row for that fight. And I was like, man, I kind of think that Kyle's winning this fight. It's not going to happen here. Yeah, it was close. It's not going to happen here. I was on Padilla Big last week. He made me a ton of money. Very cool. But yeah, Bill Algeo is going to win. As a matter of fact, as soon as we get done here, I'm going to buy a new watch, and it is going to be funded by an Algeo bet right now.
I love it. I love it. And one of these days, man, I still haven't hit yet, right? But you're going to take me watch shopping. I'm going to hit a parlay. And when I can afford a watch, I'm going to call you and we're going to go watch.
You see that shit I posted last week?
I did.
$100. It ended up being 28,000. And the week before that was 100 to 40,000 and 250 to 20,000.
Unreal. Good. I don't know how you guys do that shit. Like every time I try that, it's like dead on the second leg. And just for the chat, they need you to see the OnlyFans fade graphic that's coming up. Now, Bill Algeo, he is next up because he has an OnlyFans apparently. And Brandon, this has been one of the strongest angles in MMA betting right now is fading fighters with an OnlyFans. So
yeah, but I will say all the other guys are not well endowed. Algeo's got the biggest chrem of anybody. So I think you need not worry about this one.
So is there like we need to do like a spreadsheet where it's like OnlyFans and then it gauges by, girth. Like UFC level and girth. I love it. Bufo, get on that. Give me
I started this pod and it was nice out. Now I'm freezing cold.
Bro, I was trying to hustle. I saw the sun going down. Do you need to like grab a jacket or something?
You know what? Have a couple fights. I text Brazil and I said, can you please bring me a jacket? But I don't know if that message is going to get through.
We got like 4 fights, man. Do you want to run grab one real quick?
No, we're good. We're good. Okay. I'll tough it out.
I know you got to take your opportunity here, man, because the next fight is Nursultan Razaboev taking on none other than Cedric Dumas. And I have already planted my flag on this one, everybody. I have already taken a ton of shit for this one. And on top of that, we have made it none other than the Link Memorial Dog of the Week. I am backing Cedric Dumas in this spot as a gigantic freaking underdog. Now, he is currently sitting at plus 220, it looks like. And I got him at plus 230, so I can't pound my chest. No, plus 215. That line's still moving down just a little bit. And, nothing crazy, so I'm not going to pound my chest or anything. But I think this line is way, way wide, man. We talk about recency bias. Nursultan Razaboev, he's big, he's tall, he's long. But everyone in his last fight was talking about how this guy's a fraud. I know he's got a ton of experience, 33-8. But in his last fight, you listen to all the talking heads like us, the other guys, and the only thing anybody would talk about is how this is the next guy that's going to get, fraud checked in the UFC. He's going to get outed because he's got such a bad level of competition and he's been fighting bums on the regionals and blah, this and that and the other. I think Bruno Ferreira sucks. So this guy comes in here and he nukes Bruno Ferreira. And I fully expected that to be the case. And now he turns around and he's suddenly a massive favorite in this spot over Cedric Dumas. And everyone's ready to parlay him up. I'm like, you were just talking about how much of a bum he was. He caught the kick of a guy who is half his height and nukes him with a straight shot and puts him down. That didn't tell me anything in that last fight. If he doesn't end the fight in the first round, things get real nasty for this dude. And you go back and you watch like the Boris Moroshenko fight. Like it was a couple years ago, sure. But the big thing with Razaboev is he uses the Kimura. That's like his one move. He doesn't offensively wrestle very often, every once in a while, not very often. And he gets stuffed a lot of the times when he does. He gets taken down by people, and then he grabs onto a Kimura, and he either locks up the sub or he uses it to sweep to get on top, etc., that kind of thing. But you watch that Boris fight, and man, he shot in for a double leg, and it was like hitting a brick wall. Fell immediately to his back. Boris stepped over into mount immediately. Like, I feel like any UFC caliber fighter that was in that same exact position would have finished Rezaboev because he gave up Mount so easily, so quickly. It was like taking candy from a baby. Now, you guys have heard me on this show, and I've talked about Cedric Dumas multiple times. I think the guy is a physical freak, right? I think he's a freak of nature when it comes to his athletic ability, how big he is, how tall he is, how long he is. He came to the UFC graded out as kind of being a decent kickboxer, right? Like that was kind of his thing. But what he's done since he's got here is he's worked on his grappling. His last couple of fights, he didn't win kickboxing. He won by taking guys down. He's got good body lock takedowns. He knows how to ride out top position. He knows how to manage range and distance very well. A lot of people were not happy with his win over Abu Azaitar because he won by decision. But I think he played that fight pretty perfectly. I had a big bet on him in that spot. And the way he was making sure to avoid the big power shots and stuff like that, and then counter and do what he needed to do to stay out of range and, get the win without getting himself in harm's way. I actually liked that. That showed to me that he's thinking more than people are giving him credit for. I think the IQ is decently on point. And we do have to shout out my guy, MMA Locker Room. Guys, he did an interview with my guy, MMA Locker Room. So if you want to hear straight from Dumas what's been going on and stuff like that, that's the place to find it. He's all got that connection there. So Locker Room's always got the interview goods with Cedric Dumas. But man, I just think it's a spot where he's getting better. And now Locker Room, I'm glad you're in the chat. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think I heard at the beginning of the interview that he's moving to Fortis MMA for this fight. I scoped him out on Instagram, and I know he's doing some training. He worked with like Eric Anders for a while. He's getting training with 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu. So like he's finally moving out of his garage and like going and rubbing elbows with real fighters, real coaches. And I think that's going to only benefit a guy, especially one who's got a frame like this. Presidente said, someone get this man a jacket. I think, man, to me, this line is way too wide. To me, everyone's all over Razaboev's nuts for a round one finish. What happens if he gets extended? And a guy that is less of an athlete than Dumas was able to take him down, get Mount, and put him in a real nasty situation. I think Dumas can out-grapple this guy. I think Dumas can strike at distance with this guy. I've seen Dumas go 15 minutes in a UFC octagon, and I have not seen Razaboev go 15 minutes in a UFC octagon and get his hand raised. This guy's got 6 losses by decision. Every time the fight gets extended, he just doesn't win minutes. He throws weird looping, spinning back fists when he can't get close to people. Like, I just think I really do believe that he's a fraud. I would line this fight a lot closer to a pick'em. And that's why I got a little overexcited. I think this fight is much closer to a pick'em. And I went, you know what? I'm going to take my shot, man. Every once in a while, shoot or shoot. You got to take your shot. And I put 5 units on Cedric Dumas because at plus 220, I think the value of that number is insane. So it's not necessarily my confidence of 1000% he's winning this fight. I like that number, and I probably like it a little bit too much. Granted, probably should have been like a 3-unit bet. Maybe a 2-unit bet, but like I went 5. That's my mistake, but I'm riding. Can't hear you, buddy. Don't know what you did. You turned your mic off. I'm sure that first line was hot fire too.
I said you should have added a decimal point. It should have been 0.5. I don't ultimately hate it, but here's a couple of things I think that you're missing. Let me ask two. Just your process. Last year, you had a great year. I think you started bad and then ended up finishing amazing. Is that right?
Yeah. I'm kind of repeating that process here.
Okay. Yeah. And there's a lot of your process. It's almost like every time I think like, hey, I really like this spot, you're almost always on the other side. And because I've been having a good year, I can assume maybe yours is on the downside. And
it's on the upswing now, though. It started off rough.
Okay.
We're close to the black, and that's what I think. I got a little confidence because I'm feeling myself right now.
Yeah, there's a handful of good underdogs all the time, right? Last week I loved Jarno Aarons. That was like my guy. I love Jarno, but I can also recognize when I
add him and I didn't.
Yeah, you should have added him. That was the boy. Here's my deal. Natalia Silva, before she got to the UFC, her tape was horrible, and she gets to the UFC and she is a world beater, right? Now Nursultan's tape, I hate it. It's awful, right? It's constantly falling and flailing to his back. I hate guys that are super, super tall, 6'5". I really don't like that. Usually the cardio is bad and the mechanics are clunky and weird. The thing is like, how can you depend on Dumas to put together a game plan? to me, he's like Kevin Holland. Like Kevin has all the skills in the world. And I think Dumas is a freak athlete. Like the way that he wrestles when he does wrestle, man, he moves so well. He with a real coach, if he would be willing to listen, and he seems like a very abrasive person, if I'm just being real. Seems very abrasive. Is what it is. If he would listen and take real direction, man, he could have such a bright future. He has power. He can move super well. He can wrestle. I think his grappling is much better than people give it credit for. However, I had a bet on him too in that Azitar fight. Round 1, grapples, looks awesome on top, and then the last 2 rounds just sits on the outside trying to just trying to touch with Azitar, who was almost dead just cardio wise, right? It just is a horrible look to me. So now can you expect him to put together a 15-minute game plan of strict wrestling? And you have Nurselton, right, who his striking looked decent, right? It looked good. He cracked Bruno with a really good straight punches. But now he's working with the Philly boys. And Santino brought this up, like him to just not get killed in the gym. At some point, he's going to have to learn how to stand up and or defend a takedown. Otherwise, every training session is just his head getting bashed in by Sean Brady. And that doesn't sound great. There's something that happens to these people once they get to the UFC where everything changes for them. They can have the worst film pre-UFC ever. Look at Benoit Saint Denis. I hated his pre-UFC film. Dude is like, holding on to legs and struggling to survive. He can't breathe. And then he gets to the UFC and he is destroying everybody, right? And I lost a lot of money holding that kind of stuff against those people. Now Nurselton's with the best grappling people that you can possibly have. For me personally, it's a pass fight. I think Nurselton probably wins, but I understand the value of Dumas. I think you would have been much better off to just wait around and just check it out, see what's going to happen, and then enter live. I think that's a much better strategy than 5 units on a guy who's not dependable. I don't mind the jail stuff. Like, that stuff's cool. Like, all good. I think that's just normal. That is what it is. Not a big deal. But, man, you just don't know. And you put a lot of exposure on Nursel. I think Nurselton is the bigger question than Dumas. We kind of know what Dumas has to offer, but I think that's misguided, just sizing wise. Understand the dog shot, I respect it, I like it. Sizing wise, that's a lot. I will pick Nurselton to win this fight, but I see a path.
I hear you. And like I said, man, right off the top, admittedly, it's too big. It's too big. I shouldn't have put 5 on it.
I've heard that many times.
I can't help myself. Like, I get so excited. Like, when I see my issue, man, is I see the clear path in my brain, and that's not how fights work, right? Like, every single movement, every single decision is a little, it's a little tree of little things that could happen from that point. And when I see that wins, I just get so convicted. I get so sold. And like I said, I went to go click it and I was like, oh shit, I shouldn't have done it that big. I should have gone smaller. And right now, like I said, I'm feeling myself. So I'm just like, fuck it. I'm just going to let it ride. I'm just going to let it ride. I'm feeling good. The reads have been on. I'm doing okay. And Cedric Dumas has been a ride or die guy for me. And that's not because I'm not like you mentioned the jail time stuff. I'm not here to get into that. I'm not necessarily a fan of his on a personal level, but I think he's a guy I can make money on. I think the Josh Fremd fight was essentially a mistake. And if they ran that back, Dumas wins 8 out of 10 times. And I'm going to just kind of blindly bet this guy until I get punished for doing it. That might be Saturday. It might be Saturday that I get punished for blindly riding this guy. But that's what I've kind of decided to do. So I'm going to go with it. We'll see what happens. And I hope I look really smart instead of looking really stupid, because this goes one of 2 ways. And that'll be that, everybody. Get ready. Buckle your seatbelts. Next fight up we got to talk about here is going to be Bruno Silva taking on Chris Weidman. And I messed up, Brandon. I messed up. I can't believe I did this. So I'm kind of like clicking through this fight card, and we're getting to the end of it, and I'm exhausted. I got a couple fights to go. These are the fights at the top of it where I've got kind of a clearer picture in my mind of what happened last time. And so I'm kind of thinking less about it, right? And I'm like, man, what happened? Why is the Chris Weidman versus Uriah Hall fight only 17 seconds long? And I click it and I was like, what the hell? Oh shit. Like, so I totally I gave myself the heebie-jeebies going back and rewatching the leg break. Cause in my mind, I thought Weidman had been back longer. I don't know why. I forgot that his last fight was his first fight back since the leg break. So I tortured myself by complete accident doing tape study for this fight. This one's interesting, man. I really did like Bruno Silva. I love the nuclear power he carries with him. He literally trains ground and pound. If he gets on top of you, he is punching your face through the canvas. I love that about him. But it seems like he's kind of gotten figured out at this point at the UFC level, right? You look back at the guys that he's beaten, he looked like a world beater when he first got here, but it's Wellington Turman, Andrew Sanchez, and Jordan Wright that he actually got the win over. The Brad Tavares fight, bit of an early stoppage for a guy as durable as Brad. I'm curious what that looks like if the ref lets it go just a minute longer, but it is what it is. He got his round 1 KO. If this guy's not starching you early, he's probably not winning. And that's where I think the UFC feels like Chris Weidman might actually be able to get the dub here in this spot. He's 39 years old. He's coming off that leg break. He's got 6 knockout losses, and I think 5 of them came in 5 of his most recent fights. Man, I think it's dog or pass from a betting perspective. Like Weidman, he went 0 of 7 on takedowns in his last fight against Brad Tavares, but we know how hard it is to take that guy down. I don't think Bruno Silva's got that kind of takedown defense. I think Chris Weidman can take him down, get on top, and then just kind of boa constrictor, smother him until he taps. I kind of like Chris Weidman by sub this week, man. What are you doing here?
I'm actually on the same page as you, which I'm surprised. Yeah, I'm surprised. I am the biggest Bruno Silva fan in the world. I love that guy. I think he does so much stuff well. He defends takedowns well. His jiu-jitsu, his ground and pound. And don't you sling mud at Wellington Turman. Come on. Wellington Turman has some of the best cage wrestling that I've seen in that division.
I've bet on him in his last couple of fights, man. I've come around on Wellington.
I like Wellington. But I like Bruno too. And the thing is just Weidman just doesn't fuck off. Like that Tavares fight, Tavares had the best takedown defense ever, compromised him early with leg kicks, and I had a ton of money riding on Tavares, and I was nervous round 3. I was like, oh, man, here comes Weidman. Weidman's another guy with really good wrestling and really good jiu-jitsu, and he runs those singles hard, and he can get on top and wrap you up right away. You know, I think this is a winnable fight for him. To me, this is like 2 guys that have just more proven history, and you have a better sample size than Dumas. I would still never go 5 units, but I think I like
Let's
Weidman
be real.
here.
Your unit is my 5 anyway, so it's kind of a wash.
Well, I don't bet in units. That's the thing. I don't bet in units, so I have no idea what that means. I'm like, that just sounds like a lot. I like Weidman. I think I will probably take a little Weidman pre, and then I'll be ready to live Weidman also.
I like that, man. I do think I'm actually going to add Chris Weidman to my betting card pre-flop as well here in this spot. One of the things that really kind of got me in that last fight with Brad Tavares was he still got that champion heart, dude. He got his leg.
He still was, yeah, he was running after him, trying to get it.
He's hurt. He's wobbled. He can't put his weight on his legs. And that man is still cutting the cage off and going, fight me, bro. Like he's still trying to stand right in front of him and bang it out to get his opportunity for a win. I love seeing that. And I'm like, if you've still got that kind of, what's that?
I said he still has title aspirations. Him and Anthony Smith, they're going to get there someday.
Eventually, one of these days, my brother Anthony Smith will get that gold. But yeah, man, that's I love the what is it? The delusional self-belief, right? Like you need that. You need that as an MMA fighter.
You have to have, yeah.
If you don't think you're the baddest motherfucker out there, you're not going to survive with these guys. So I like that he's still got that. So yeah, man. I like it. I'm glad you're on the same page as me on that one. I think I'm going to add some Weidman here on this one. And I don't know what the sub prop number is, but I'll be looking for that as soon as it drops as well. All right, everybody, down to the last couple fights here. Vicente Luque takes on Joaquin Buckley here, and it is your co-main event of the evening. Vicente Luque, man, once upon a time, I had the tattoo, the Never Fade Vicente Luque tattoo, and it lasted for, maybe a year and a half or so. And now I've kind of come back around and going, geez, maybe it's time to fade Vicente Luque again. I don't know what it is with this guy. He's one of the most talented fighters on the planet, man. And I just keep on feeling like the end is near. Like he gets hit so often, he takes so much damage, and it's got to add up eventually, right? Like I faded him successfully with Bilal. I think I passed on Jeff Neal, and I actually bet him against Rafael dos Anjos in his last fight. But that's the one that I found most interesting is everybody and their mother was piling in to bet Rafael dos Anjos against Vicente Luque. And Luque got the win. He did what he had to do in that fight, but that's the one that kind of got me thinking, man, because at the end of that fight, he did not like what was coming his way. Rafael dos Anjos was tagging him with some shots, and you could see that I don't want to get hit anymore look in his eye. And so I'm worried about the damage accumulation for a guy like this. His opponent, Joaquin Buckley, obviously a lot less tread on the tires here. He has been knocked out 4 times, which is a little bit concerning to me, but he's younger. He's faster. He's more athletic. The way he explodes in and cracks people with those big power shots, I don't think Vicente is going to like that very much. And on top of that, Buckley has been working a whole hell of a lot on his wrestling. You can see that it's getting better every time he steps into the cage. I just think this is one of those ships passing in the night type of spots. Luque's on the downslide. Buckley's on the upswing. And I took the stab, man. I'm on Joaquin Buckley here in this spot. I got him at plus 120. And this line has come down just a little bit. It looks like Vicente Luque, I think, is minus 120. Nope, minus 115, minus 105 on Buckley. We're trending towards a pick'em here in this spot. So missed. The plus money's gone if you didn't get in there on Buckley, and that's the side that you like. What are you doing here, Brandon?
I like Buckley too. I think I'm going to take Buckley pre-flop also. I like Vicente Luque. I actually forgot that he fought Jeff Neal because I was going to say I've lost more money on Vicente Luque than anybody. I bet him against Bilal when I was just being an idiot going crazy in Costa Rica. And then I bet RDA against him, same thing. I was like, oh, he's going to get taken down. It's the same exact thing. And then Santino brought up a really good point earlier. He said 0 times did Luque ever initiate the grappling in that fight. All of the grappling was initiated by RDA and then countered by Luque, and that's where we lie. I love RDA's grappling, but I think his pure wrestling is not as good as Buckley's, right? Buckley takes guys off the feet. You know, everyone's getting really good at cage defense, cage wrestling, and maybe guys just aren't even that good on, offensively taking guys down on the cage. Then you have Buckley, who's blast doubles, explosive, has good cardio for how he fights. I mean, that dude is super explosive, dynamic, fast twitch, and he can hold a good pace. I love his in-tight boxing. I love the southpaw look. I like his check hooks. I like his little taekwondo, his kicks on the outside. There's a lot to like about Buckley. I think that dude is game, and like you said, this is a passing of the torch here. I think I'm going to take Buckley pre, and honestly, you probably won't get a good line on him during. I think he might even just run away with this one or knockout. So I'll probably play Buckley knockout and Buckley money line.
I'm glad you were on the same page here, man. That means one of 2 things for you. Either you're fucked or we're going to make a ton of money this week.
I need 3 60K weeks in a row. May 18th, I'm retiring. So,
that'd be good shit. Are you guys just going to just hang up the pod, delete it, never let anybody ever know?
No. There's a couple fights on that May 18th card that I have my eye on. And, that's going to be my final stand, I think.
That'll be your out. All right. My guy, Ethan. All right, Ethan. First off, it's all love, buddy. But I'm chasing. What am I chasing, brother? I'm 4-1 in the last 5 events. Like, I know I started off rough this year, but I'm on point lately. So I'm not chasing shit. I'm telling you what I actually think in this fight. But if you want to do it, if you want to do the shot bet for this fight, that's fine. You got Vicente Luque. I got Joaquin Buckley. Ethan, let's do it. Booked it. That's absolutely booked. All right, everybody. Main event of the evening. You have got Aaron Blanchfield taking on Manon Fiorot. And I am shocked, Brandon, at what I'm seeing online in this fight. I really am surprised because there's a couple other fights on this card that I kind of thought were going to be the Twitter Civil War of the week, right? Like the last week's Zalal and Billy Q. I thought this was not going to be that. I thought everyone and their mother was going to be on Aaron Blanchfield. I'm seeing a lot of love from Manon Fiorot. There's a bunch of people out there taking the dog shot in this spot, and that really kind of caught me off guard here. This line is kind of tug-of-warring a little bit. Blanchfield was minus 150, I think, a little earlier in the week. She blew up to being up and over minus 200. That line is starting to come back down a little bit now, and it's going to be really interesting to see where this falls. I feel like Cold-Blooded has been destined to be the next title holder in this weight class for a long time, man. Just her overall game, I love what she does. She's just a vicious offensive grappler. She strikes well to get into range. Her BJJ is fantastic. She doesn't get enough credit, I don't think, for what she does on the ground as far as her grappling and her submissions go. Now, Manon Fiorot is a solid striker, obviously going to have an edge on the feet. and she has good takedown defense, but it's just a clash of styles, right? Like you've got Manon Fiorot, who's been fighting people like Rose Namajunas and Caitlin Chukagian and people who fit her style very, very well. She did fight, Maya, but Maya's not really the greatest offensive wrestler in the UFC. We've talked about that time and time again. The Mayra Bueno Silva fight, you can give her that one for actually overcoming a grappler. But I don't know how much she's really been tested by somebody in the grappling as much as someone like Erin Blanchfield is going to come after her. And on the flip side of this thing, I feel like Erin Blanchfield, she's been fighting fellow grapplers. So it's going to be interesting to see what she can do with the range and the distance and the striking. I just love this fight so much, man. I wish it was a pick'em. I think it should be a pick'em, so I kind of understand the love on the Manon Fiorot side. I'm picking Blanchfield to win. If the line was shorter, I'd probably bet her. I don't really want to lay minus 200 with Blanchfield in this spot to find out, though. I think that's the wrong price tag. So I'm going to pick Blanchfield to go ahead and get the win. I think I'm just going to watch this one, though. I think this is going to be a fun fight with lots of fireworks. Both ladies have their moments. Blanchfield late submission, maybe, after she kind of wears her out and finally gets her down and gets a dominant position on her. I can't wait, though. This is going to be a fun fight.
We don't really have evidence to suggest that Manon slows down. We don't. And we also don't have evidence to suggest that Blanchfield can keep that pace for 25 minutes either. We don't know. And the thing with Erin is she doesn't cut off the cage. She doesn't set up strikes, right? She doesn't establish a nice jab. So now every time you counter the jab, she's shooting underneath. She just fights. She just is tough. She's in your face and she just fights. And she plods forward. I love Erin Blanchfield too. You say her BJJ doesn't give enough credit. I think she's an amazing cage wrestler. I think her top control is incredible. I love those East Coast people. Her and Fatima are amazing grapplers. I love Fatima just as much. I think she's going to get torn up in this spot. I love Manon's lateral movement. I think her volume is excellent. I think her cardio, her fitness, her sense of urgency to not engage in the grappling, to break away, her cage breaks, everything she does, I think, is a complete game. And so you're talking about clash of styles. She's fighting Rose. Look at Rose on Saturday. Her grappling looked excellent, right? You can tell how good Rose's grappling is, right? Ribas is hitting that head and arm throw, that little JV head and arm throw, and Rose is hitting re-rolls, and Rose is climbing up to the back, and Rose is shooting double legs. If Rose felt like she had a good shot opportunity, why would she say striking with Manon when she knows she was getting outpointed? That lateral movement makes it really, really, really hard to chase people. And if you can't get someone down in rounds 1, 2, 3, why are you going to keep trying to do it in rounds 4 or rounds 5? I mean, that's kind of the thing that I've been hearing is, Manon's going to get super, super tired. It's like, how do we know that? As a grappler, as somebody who that is my whole style, man, if I can't land a takedown in 1 or 2, time to abandon ship. Otherwise, I'm going to have a cardio death. That's in 15 minutes, let alone
embrace
25.
your inner Marab, Brandon. What are you doing?
Yeah, for real. I need that same stuff. I just, again, you're right. Like a pick'em is, I guess, how I would line this. Honestly, I kind of thought Manon would be the favorite. And here we are with her at plus 170, plus 160. How could I not grab a lot of that? I'm willing to find out and be wrong. Honestly, after Manon picks her apart in rounds 1 and 2, you're probably going to get a good number on Erin anyways, right? And you get some arbitrage, a little hedge out if you feel like the tides are starting to shift. But, I don't think there's even evidence to suggest that, one takedown and it's over for Manon. What if she gets taken down and she butt scoots to the cage and stands up like MMA has been evolving for so long? We just don't know. We don't know either
Absolutely.
side. And when we don't know, I would rather take the plus 170 than I would the minus 200, right? I like Manon in the spot.
5 units?
10 units.
Let's go. I love it. I absolutely love it, man. It's a great fight. I can't wait to find out. And like I said, I'm picking Erin. I know there's the just win people out there, right? That if I'm picking Erin, I shouldn't care what the number is and lay it. I ain't about that. So I'm not going to bet this fight at this point. I will be looking live because, like you mentioned, there's no evidence to suggest. My brain script is that Erin will eventually start to get her down, but I don't know that. So I'll be watching live to see if I've got an opportunity to take a better number on Erin Blanchfield. If not, I'll just cheer everybody on that's got Manon Fiorot.
her cage wrestling has looked very rudimentary in the last few fights. As she's leveled up in competition, to me, it's looked worse and worse and worse and worse. Her top control will always be as good as it gets, but like she's kind of getting stuck where she just can't seal the deal and get these girls down. And then, Manon gets up once, twice, 3 times. Then what? Then how do we view it? Do we think she's winning minutes on the feet? That's tough.
Yeah, for sure, man. It's a big question mark, and it's a very valid argument as well. Real quick before we go, man, Gray in the chat is asking for thoughts on Bitegate. That shit absolutely was wild, man. I never thought I'd see the day when a guy got back when when Semtex, when Paul Daly, when he got disqualified and kicked out of the UFC forever for that cheap shot after the bell on Josh Koscheck. I thought that'd be the last time we ever saw somebody like straight up booted from the UFC by Dana White. How do you get to the UFC and think it's okay to bite somebody? Like, what the fuck, man? I don't understand that. Brandon, I know you're just starting your pro career. Don't bite people. Guys, this has been the Die Hard MMA podcast. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us tonight. It's been a ton of fun. Brandon has spent his quality time. He's freezing his ass off, breaking these fights down with us. I appreciate the dedication, man. If you want to let the people know what you've got going on, where they can support you, and especially where they can find your show, the floor is yours, my guy. Go right ahead.
Awesome. Yeah. Santino DeFranco, he's the head coach of Fight Ready. We also run a YouTube channel where we do breakdowns every week. We have a badass studio that is heated and cooled. So none of this freezing stuff. Go check it out. We have a Patreon, a Discord. It's $25 a month. Last week I threw out $100 that won $28,000. And we thought do a lot of good regional stuff, a lot of smart minds in there. So go check out our YouTube channel. Watch it. Don't watch it. I don't care. Sign up or don't sign up. Don't care. Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate being on. And sometimes your audience is very nice and sometimes not so nice. But thank you for having me anyways.
Man, you know what? My audience, I got to tell you, out of all the people online, like 99% of the time, I've got the coolest people. I've trained them. Like, we have nice people that watch the show, but they're also very protective of me. So I apologize. Everyone be nice to Brandon. He's a friend of the show, and he knows what he's talking about, too. He knows his shit. So we respect his opinion around here. It's okay to disagree. We do it respectfully. Just keep that in mind. That'll be the podcast, everybody. Thank you all so much for spending your evening with us here.
Does anybody else have any other stupid questions for me tonight? Thank you. Have a good night.
This week, everybody. Let's roll.